This is GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW flyers, that is 2-3 page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 50, entitled Female Adaptation to Uncontrollable Males. Description. This flyer discusses how women are adapting to a higher proportion of men becoming wise to genetically based female parasitism on men's resources. Men are putting new financial and moral pressures on women to become FIPs and behave as responsible adults. Flyer itself. Female adaptation to uncontrollable males. There's a lot of truth in the quip that, quote, men evolved to manipulate the world, and women evolved to manipulate men. Women evolved to be dependent, that is, parasitic, on men. When pre-human babies' brains doubled in size over a mere million years, this caused a huge problem for women. It meant their birth canal had to increase in size to allow passage of the baby's head. But a larger birth canal put more stress on the hip bone, which would be fatal if it broke. So evolution solved this problem by having the baby be born prematurely so that its head growth continued after the birth. But a prematurely born baby was useless and utterly dependent on its mother for survival, which in turn meant that women who were constantly pregnant or obliged to remain close to their infants were not free to hunt the way many other female mammals can, for example, the large cat family. So how did women get their meat, their protein? They got it from men. But why would men want to give their hard-chased meat to women? Again, evolution found a way around this problem by making the human female the sexiest of mammals. Human females do not have a fraction of their menstrual month in which they are in heat like a dog or monkey, because they are always in heat. A human female can sex at any time, all days of the month, thus being able to bribe men with sex. Quote, give me some of your meat for me and my babies, and I'll give you some cunt. Thus, women are all, in a manner of speaking, hookers. They evolved to be prostitutes, and their psychology, their attitudes, their behaviours towards men also evolved accordingly. Women evolved to manipulate men to give women protein and resources. It's interesting for me to watch young mothers with young babies strolling in the park when I routinely take my math books to study. The older women largely ignore me. To them, I'm the odd stranger who does weird things, like sits in a camp chair that no Chinese ever does, and reads advanced mathematics that no Chinese ever does. But the young mothers are a different story. I can sense their instincts switch on when they see a single male, and from their Chinese perspective, a Western, and therefore rich in their eyes, male, who reads advanced math, so must be very smart, and therefore affluent. They smile in my direction and hover around, trying to catch my attention and make me give them eye contact, which I don't do. I'm a masculist, and may go MGTOW once I get a green card, if my current bad-tempered wife does not get over her menopause moodiness. Actually, she did. She's calmed down now. It's mid-2017. So life with her is more agreeable. I don't get the negative flack anymore. She's calmed down. But she got diabetes too. So she's now on insulin treatment, but she hasn't had any insulin injections for a month or more because she controls her sugar content level, keeps it within reasonable boundaries, and so effectively the problem's gone away. She's become a lot calmer, thank God. So now I can tolerate her at least because she doesn't nag me anymore, thank God. Back to the flyer. I have had my consciousness raised, both my masculist ideas, e.g. that women must be FIPs or they rot on the shelf, and my MGTOW consciousness raised, that, for example, that women don't love men. they love men's exploitability and will coldly and disloyally dump a man if he loses his exploitability. I consider it highly likely that within just a few years, MGTOW and masculist ideas will be as commonly and widely known as feminist ideas in society. These MGTOW/masculist ideas will change the way men behave towards women, and that in turn will change the way women interact with men. The title of this flyer focuses on how women will react towards men when men see women for what women truly are, namely parasites on men, using men for women's own gain, so that women could increase their chances of survival and for their children in a pre-modern world. It's now clear to most men that marriage has become toxic, thanks to the takeover of the divorce courts by the fluffy feminists. Roughly one married father in 4 in the US will be financially massacred in a divorce, losing his kids, his house, paying child support and alimony to his fluffy ex-wife. So roughly one married woman in 4 is utterly callous towards her ex-husband, showing clearly what women really think of men. Men are learning of this reality and are shedding their delusions of women loving men. They see women with a much higher degree of suspicion now. They have taken the red pill, as the MGTOWs say. That is, they have learned that women don't love men. They love men's exploitability. So a growing majority of men is now cynical of women and are conscious of women's true natures, that is, women's view of men as checkbooks, as exploitable, as disposable, so they are adapting to women's nature. Such men usually utterly refuse to have relationships with fluffies, traditional women who expect to be able to parasite off a man's money, who do not bother to obtain a FIP, it's a financially independent person, education, so that they can be a FIP as an adult. Fluffies are coming under increasing pressure from men in society, both financial and moral. In the US today, 70% of young men under 35 refuse to marry and have kids due to the toxicity of the divorce courts. These young men are also increasingly aware of MGTOW/masculist ideas and react appropriately towards women. These men expect women to be FIPs, otherwise they'll be ignored. Men will refuse to have relationships with them, even tway-twef relationships. Tway-tweffing is the 2A2F, 2 apartment 2 FIPs lifestyle, where a FIP male and a FIP female have their own apartments and have a relationship, giving each other some companionship and regular sex. When the relationship fails, as most do, the two of them simply return to their own apartments, cost-free, no divorce because no marriage, no alimony because the woman is a FIP, no child payments because no kids. In other words, from the female perspective, men have become a lot more uncontrollable. Men have become much better informed as to women's true nature, thanks largely to the internet and men's interest groups which educate each other regarding women's nature. Women have to adapt to this new male reality. They are increasingly feeling the moral pressure on them. Get off your fat parasitic ass, you fluffy bitch, and become a FIP, or continue to rot on the shelf to extinction. You could say that to some extent the tables have been reversed. It's now men controlling women, forcing them to become FIPs, or they will not only not have a baby, they won't even get a man. They will lead miserable, lonely lives, being manless, loveless, childless and poor, supporting themselves on their meagre, fluffy income. In the US today, about 40% of women over 40 live alone. A fair proportion of them are being punished by men who refuse to have relationships with them. These single older women often did not bother to become FIPs, so are now seen as femina non grata, that is, undesirable women, in many senses of the term undesirable. As more and more men see women as genetically programmed parasites, they will put pressure on women to behave in ways that do not exploit men, and will punish women if they do not behave as desired by men. This is changing the whole sexual ecology of behavior and expectations between women and men. When the sex bots come within a decade, this ecology will undergo a radical change. Suddenly, women will lose their chief bargaining chip, that is, the power of their vaginas. They will not be able to bribe men with their sexuality in return for men's money. Men will prefer to sex their bots, which will do a better job than most women can. Men's bots will be beautiful, curvy, creamy, and grippy, and highly desirable. Women will then have to compete much harder, not only amongst themselves for the attention of men, but they will have to compete with men's sex bots. This will cause major shifts in women's attitudes towards men. Women will have to become a lot nicer to men. The divorce court injustices will need to be removed. Men will need to give the paternity rejection rate need to be given. Women will have to become FIPs. Education will be revolutionized as nearly all women feel the strong moral pressure to study FIP majors, to become a FIP adult. Women's self-expectations will change. They will learn to pull their weight financially and take responsibility for their own lives, and not expect to have some man do that for them. Women will have to grow up and become adults. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. YouTube channel name de GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW, Flyers. Ciao.